The Kerkenian has, according to Avisac, overcome this isolation and these difficulties by the inherited experience in orientation and sailing and in getting through horizons. The Kerkenian has also invented the lood, which is the specific Kerkenian boat, a boat with a flat bottom with a hollow part that allows it, when water ebbs, to float and sail, or even the canoe. These are appellations to differentiate between the sizes and roles of each embarkation. But the lood, the essential means of transport, was the ambassador of Kerkennah, and those who know some history know only too well that modern Tunisian history is very much indebted to the lood, or hasn't it carried with the captaincy of Al-Aoun, Lahbib Bourguiba, in 1944, to go to the east and to take the national question into a new stage starting from Cairo. A lood would not want to be paid for this. It only seeks recognition. The fisheries, or shrafi, one of which is Sharfiya, Tijani talked about it in his voyage and Sheikh Magdish in his promenade. Ali Bey was also constrained to sign a law that allows private property in the sea. It might be the first law of its kind in the history of Tunisia or even the whole Mediterranean, and jurists are more knowledgeable about this. The Sharfiya, which was mentioned by Mahmoud Badi', the Bey who sympathized with Kerkennah according to the documents of the military school in Bardo, consists of planting tools made of palm tree products, mats held by olive branches, and pillars constructed in an architectural way. We say architectural, and we mean it, because there is a need for someone who is expert in wind directions, and especially in the direction of herds of fish in relation to the ebb and flow of the sea water. Let's go back to the Sharfiya. It then surrounded by mats made of palm tree products, and when herds of fish come by, palms planted in the sea will force them to go to the dar, and then they could not avoid getting into the trap, the drina, where they become like birds in a cage and keep in the same fresh condition until comes the fisherman and throws them in their sela on the boat. We find other kinds of fishing in Kerkennah. There is net fishing, which itself is varied, the simplest of which is the taraha, which is nearest to nature and most respectful of the maritime environment. But the yield of the taraha quickly became insufficient. Then we find the open net, matluq, and lutani, and that for catching dogfish, and even a net to throw on the beach, shahati. Each net specializes in a different kind of catch. When you cross the island from Melita to Lataya, and from Lataya to Kraten, you will find in each village a story that relates to the sea or to the land, or most of the times to both of them together. Melita is the extension of the farms of Al-Itha, the figs and grapes of which have exquisite taste, that of a paradise, as they say. It's the village of Shrafi and of Shadekh and Magmaga. It's a charm that poets could not describe if they did. Ouled Izzeddin, which still sticks to its originality, receives the sun when it's rising and leaves it when it's setting, with a scene that not an artist in the world could paint. A scene of boats sailing across the waves in search of a living, with no murals or towers to hide them. When you get into Ouled Yeneg, you find the original village on your right-hand side, and by going around in its lanes and passing by its houses and marabouts, you can tell that you are in the country of sailors and traders. As when you go left to the bridge, to the village of Sidi Frej, the first commercial harbor on the island, you'd say that here we enter a world where dreams mingle with reality, and only then will you know that choosing Kerkennah for ecological tourism is not a gift from anyone, but it was the melting of the beauty of the countryside with the sea that made hotel owners bet on the client's taste. Cersina, Farhat, the Grand, the Castile, the Residence, and Aziz. All these restaurants and hotels, although far below the size of the island and its tourist hosting capacity, they were made on the basis of preference of quality to quantity. When you decide to get back to the islands, the tortuous road across the vine and fig yards, along with cactus and esparto, will take you on the Ouled Qasim, which in its turn is no less original than its sister Ouled Yeneg. Those who know Ouled Qasim will be nostalgic to the evenings of the Sqifa and the lovers' meetings on the nearby beach, where the bubbling of waves becomes the song of a nightingale. Ouled Bouali, two twin villages. On your right, the mother village, that of seamen, parties, and long evenings, and whatever follows, and on your left, Mellita Sghira, inhabited by people who chose detached houses in small gardens without complaining from isolation. Ramla, the administrative center of the archipel, is a new creation where you find the municipality, the delegation, various ministerial branches. When you go on to Calabin, and these are the Calabian deriving from the Yemeni ancient sailors and the village of the Caliph, and where the lots for military service used to be drawn, Calabin has the honor and pride of holding one of the first schools in the country. Yes, the whole country, and it has been the realm of knowledge since 1896. Calabin, although it lost its leading position in administration, post services, education, and that of holding the council, still stays as the village of the beautiful seaside. When you get to Abbasiyah, we find the folk museum of Kerkennah, which abridges time and tells those who fail to know about the past sequences of the good old days of the island. You will have no choice but to throw a glance at the house where the leader of struggles, Farhat Hashed, was born. Al-Abbasiyah is also the country of Ashur, the hero of the Battle of the Martyrs. It's only too natural that symbols of struggle would come from this village. It's right here that emerged the first salary-paid salt marsh, held by the French and the Italians in 1896. The people of Hashed and Ashur knew the railway and the train before it was even known on the mainland. They also experienced injustice, and this had a tremendous effect. A village that feels the impact of exploitation and finds means of fighting oppression. This is, in one word, Al-Abbasiyah. After the Mshea, this marshland invading the oasis because of the effect of increasing salinity in the Cape, we can see Lataya, the place for serious hard work, good humor, and love. It's here that we find the mesa, fishermen, and a harbor that is throbbing with liveliness. A modern harbor where ships would come to sell their catch and for their supply of fuel and food, and also for their maintenance work. What is important in Lataya, despite the regression of the yield and the production